everybody, good evening and welcome. For those of you new to my channel, my name is Alex and I'm an apostate. I used to be the director of public book sales at the Church of Scientology in London, and yesterday I was detained and handcuffed by the Metropolitan Police for protesting outside the Mission Impossible premiere at which Tom Cruise was attending. Now, I was detained and then later released. I was not arrested. It was all because a Scientology agent made a call to the police that said they had overheard me saying I plan to throw oil over Tom Cruise, which of course was a lie. I was set free, and the other protesters that were with me were also set free. And it was a very traumatic incident. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely taken a bit of decompression and a talk with my therapist before I've been ready to come on live and talk about it here. But I wanted to first and foremost say thank you to everybody in this wonderful community who have reached out to me in the last 24 hours to check on my welfare, to make sure I'm okay. I've had dozens of really kind comments and emails from those of you who were making sure that I'm okay. And thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I think it's a real testament to this community that we are all here together, supporting each other, checking in on each other. And that's exactly what I want from the community of my followers here on this channel, is people who are nice, who have kindness and compassion at the forefront of everything that we're doing here. So I wanted to start off by saying thank you. I also want to say hello to everybody in the chat. And then we'll talk about the headlines that have been made today in response to yesterday's event. So first and foremost, everybody say hi and show some love to Leanie, the wonderful moderator that I've got here. Thank you so much, SP Crusader Leanie, for being here. And guys, before we go any further, please do make sure you press that like button and you click the bell so that you're subscribed and get notifications whenever I go live. That really does always help get this message out to more people. Leanie says Scientology showing their true colors again. Yep, absolutely. P Tree Nar says good evening. Hello. Mark the Dorset SP is here. Evening, Alex and all. Again, seems I missed all the fun. Oh, Mark, you did. There was a lot of fun, a lot of trauma and distress, but it was also a lot of fun. Terry Ray's in the house. Good to see you back. Haven't seen you for a while, Terry. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Alex and Leanie. Hello. From a poet, Brian Lucas is here. It's been a while since I've seen you as well in my chats. Thank you so much. Hi and welcome. Good evening, all. Kiki is here saying howdy, folks howdy from Colorado, folks. Hello. Hi. Thank you for joining. Becky, Big Brother fan. Hey there. Buffy is here saying hey from Colorado too. If you scroll down from Alex's article, there's a review of Mission Impossible, basically saying it was boring. So there's that. Well, the film may have been boring, but yesterday's events certainly were not. Let's have a look at the others. We've got Cara here saying, hey, everyone. Renee sending love from Idaho. Amy M asking how are your wrists. They are still a little bit sore, I'm not going to lie. The left one particularly, because that hand was a little bit tighter, the cuffs on that, than the other one. Witness says, hey, hello, Alex. Great to see you again. Glad you're okay. Thank you so much. Hi. And obviously plenty of other people. We've got Liz Gale in the house. Hi, Liz. Thank you for sharing this story on your TikTok yesterday as well. I saw that and I reposted it. I do appreciate the love and the support. We've got Danielle Chamberlain in the house as well, who is another wonderful moderator. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's have a look at this. The Sun newspaper. Yes, it's a tabloid. However, it is one of the most read newspapers in the UK. They have a following of about, I think, a readership of 1.2 million. So that's a lot of eyes. And in my view, tabloid or not, the more eyes on this story, the better. The more people that are aware of Scientology's abusive practices and their fair game harassment tactics against critics such as myself, the better. And this is something that was really key to me to get across in this article, was that we were there peacefully protesting. We were there because Tom Cruise is obviously a prime part of the Mission Impossible franchise, and he is the chief financier and a promoter, a frontman for Scientology, and it was really important to get that point across that we were there protesting the abuse within Scientology, and he should be held accountable for the role that he plays in promoting and benefiting from the slave labor that is provided by the Church of Scientology in the form of Sea Organization members. So that's why we were there. But it all went a little bit awry, I'll say that. Let's have a look at this article. The Sun. Premiere clash, chaos at Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible premiere as anti-Scientology protesters are cuffed and bundled away by cops. The link to this is in the description if you want to follow along, but we'll just read through it here. I'm not going to play the footage because I've got that on my channel if you want to go and watch it on the videos tab. There's also, I was live streaming the whole thing, so you can go onto the live tab and see the whole stream if you want to. Shocking footage shows the moment chaos erupted at Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible premiere. Anti-Scientology protesters were caught on camera being cuffed and bundled away by cops at the film premiere in London last night. There's a picture of me, look, with the officer putting me in cuffs. And then a picture, screen grab from my live stream. And there's Tom Cruise himself at the premiere. A group of former church members were protesting at the star-studded event in Leicester Square for the release of the latest Mission Impossible movie. The Hollywood superstar 62 climbed onto the nose of two planes at the global premiere for the 8th and final film in the series. Alex Barnes was with other former members close to the red carpet, where all the celebs were entering when they were quizzed and cuffed. Alex managed to film the whole event, which went on for approximately 10 minutes before they were released and let go, by which time Cruise and all the other famous people had already entered the building. Alex revealed, we had been peacefully protesting outside the Mission Impossible premiere in Leicester Square for about 30 minutes before the police arrived. They immediately slapped handcuffs on me and detained me under stop and search laws and searched my bag. Apparently, somebody had called in that I had threatened to throw oil over Tom Cruise. I was live streaming our protest, and it was absolutely not our intention to cause any sort of disruption. We just wanted to be heard. He claimed this was a completely unnecessary and excessive use of police force, which temporarily restricted our rights to peaceful protest. I was not approached or asked why we were there or what our plans were. I was immediately put in cuffs, which has left marks on my wrist. Scientology was founded in the 1950s by the late Dr. Lafayette Ronald Hubbard. Okay, I'm going to pull them up on that one because L. Ron Hubbard is not a doctor. His doctorate was actually given by a diploma mill. He paid for it. It was not an accredited university. So I think that is not exactly true that he was a doctor. But they are right in the fact that it was founded by LRH. Let's carry on. But since the group was founded by the science fiction writer, it has been a lightning rod for alleged controversies. A-list actor Tom Cruise is arguably the world's most famous Scientologist and has long been associated with the church. In recent years, however, rumors have spread that Cruise, who now lives in London away from the predominantly LA-based religion, has distanced from the church. Again, I'm going to poke holes in this one because he hasn't distanced himself from Scientology. The fact that he lives in London does not mean he's not a Scientologist anymore. He hasn't distanced himself at all, but nonetheless that doesn't stop the tabloids from trying to speculate that he's left, which is not true. He has not spoken publicly about being a Scientologist in a year, but has not been reported to have fully left the cultish religion just yet. There we go. So they do redeem themselves a little bit. Alex continued, I told the officer that this is exactly the sort of thing Scientology do in order to shut down critics, stifle free speech, and intimidate anyone who speaks out. It was an excessive use of police force, totally unnecessary, and just goes to show why it's important to exercise our rights to free speech. This sort of incident is the precise reason why so many survivors of abuse in Scientology are afraid to speak out, because if they do, they are painted as criminals by the so-called church and treated harshly and unfairly by police. The highly secretive group, which was recognized as a religion in the UK in 2013, has always denied claims made against them. Some more pictures there, and then it goes on. Like others, Alex says he's been singled out by Scientology for daring to speak out. Last month, he was part of a team who paid for billboard advertising at Tottenham Court Road Tube Station and has also protested outside its headquarters in East Grinstead, West Sussex, when Cruise attended a gala event. And I said, I explained to the police that I'm currently the subject of a targeted campaign of harassment orchestrated by the Church of Scientology as a result of speaking out. They will do anything they can to shut us down, and this proves exactly why we need to raise public awareness of Scientology's dirty tricks. As somebody who was forcibly held against my will while working as a teenager at the Church of Scientology in London, this whole incident was extremely triggering and traumatizing. The Met Police has been contacted for comment by The Sun. And then it goes on and talks a lot more about Leah Remini and Scientology as a whole, and then not really much to do with the protest. But that is the story. I think it's fantastic that it has made headlines, and I can assure you the Sun are not the only newspaper that have contacted me asking for information about this. And what a perfect example of Scientology fair game backfiring. Their goal was to get a picture and video footage of me being walked away in cuffs and stifling our free speech by shutting our protest down. But in actual fact, what it has done is resulted in a news article in a very well-read newspaper talking about Scientology's attempts to stifle free speech and their harassment that is currently ongoing against me and other former members. This is a total flop for Scientology, or as we would say in Scientology, a flap that needs to be handled, according to L. Ron Hubbard. And it's hugely embarrassing for them, I would say. And Osa, if you're watching this, we know you do. Hi, Janet. Hi, Graham. Hi, everybody else that's watching from Osa. Please understand that if you continue to harass and intimidate me, if you continue to try and silence us as protesters, all it does is create more press and gets more eyeballs on your harassment. It is not an effective way of shutting us down. In fact, an effective way of shutting us down would be to stop abusing people, because that's what we're protesting. We're protesting the abuse of people within Scientology. So if you simply stop abusing people, we go away. It's really, really simple. But nonetheless, it didn't stop them from trying. And I made the point to the police that this is part of this ongoing campaign. I now have a hate website. I have multiple articles on the Stand League website. About 100 tweets a day, over 10,000 attack tweets over the last few months. They are relentless in their efforts to try and intimidate me into silence. And I'm afraid to say, it won't work, because all this does is fuel me even further to fight harder, to make the point that we are here as a community standing strong, and it's really important that law enforcement take a real close look at what Scientology are doing and their efforts to try and shut us up. So it's going to make me want to do more. It's not silencing me or scaring me into stopping protesting whatsoever. The whole instance, the whole event was, of course, distressing. It wasn't fun to be put in handcuffs, and it wasn't exciting in any way to go through that. But as somebody I just saw mentioned in the chat, the Barbra Streisand effect, exactly. That's exactly what's happened here. And carefully reviewing the footage, I have now, I've been reviewing the footage over the last 24 hours. I have seen a team of 5, no less than 5 OSA agents who were present for the whole time we were there protesting. I didn't realize, I didn't clock them when I was there in person, but looking back at the footage, there was a team of 5 of them there watching all of us, filming us, and one of those people made the call to the police, which resulted in us getting detained. It just goes to show the resources that they are assigning to us as a group here in the UK, and the efforts they will go to try and stop us from protesting. It's very, in my opinion, unchurch-like. But nonetheless, we're going to keep fighting. It's not going to stop us. But I just think it's kind of worrying to think that they have a team of 5 people on hand to jump into action at a moment's notice whenever I go live and I'm protesting. They would have dropped everything from whatever they're doing, wherever they are, and going to make sure they're there for the protest, and they're filming everything. It also means that Scientology have gotten the police to play into their game. What this is this is police resources being used as part of Scientology's harassment and stalking. So they're using the resources to commit further crimes, which I think is even more outrageous. And that is why I have filed a complaint with the Metropolitan Police today. And we will see what the outcome is. I have requested all the body cam footage. I've requested all the reports and a copy of the call that was made. and all of that. We'll see what they send through to me. But this is something that I will continue fighting for, because I think it's really, really important. And it all goes into the bigger picture of the harassment case against me. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Irish Mart says, any and all newspaper coverage is great to help spread awareness and reach more folks. Absolutely. Any news coverage is good news coverage. Val Ross is here. Hi, Val. Bundled away by cops. I know, it's laughable, really. The fact that they tried to get me arrested and failed. In fact, what they've done is created more press about their activities and their atrocious behavior. Amy M says the article sounds more exciting than the actual movie. It certainly was exciting. We definitely attracted a crowd of people taking pictures, videos, asking what was going on. And after we were released, we carried on protesting, and even more people came up to us to ask what had happened and what we were doing. We gave lots of bags of nuts because Sam, the SP chef, gave us these bags of his nuts, which I thought was hilarious. So we were handing out those to passers-by, and obviously we hadn't done anything wrong. So it just created more impact for us, I think. But it didn't come free, of course. It did come at the cost of re-traumatizing and re-triggering me. I actually said to the Sun newspaper in my interview with them that, you know, when I left Scientology, I thought I had left censorship and detainment behind. But in actual fact, what has happened is the police have now detained me, and the police have been used by Scientology to further harass me and censor my free speech, which was extremely triggering. It wasn't in any way what I expected the police to do. And the police are the ones that should be investigating the abusive practices of the Church of Scientology. They should be investigating the people who made the call, who are continuing to harass me. They should not be coming after protesters and abuse survivors. They should be given the time of day to air their grievances, and they should be listened to and respected. That is the point that I was trying to make. Witness says, what, to throw oil? Yeah, exactly. It was completely made up. We didn't have any oil on us. We never talked about oil being anything to do with part of our plans. Our plan from the very beginning was to stand there with our banner in peaceful protest. And the banner read, as it always does, it's time to end abuse in Scientology. We have always peacefully protested, and we always will. There was no oil at all in any of our plans. It was completely made up. Val says he got a failing grade in one course he claimed to be a doctor in, but hey, that's only one of his lies, in reference to L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, absolutely. Kiki says, well done on getting the word out. Thank you. Lupita says, hi, Alex. I hope you're doing well. It's great that the Sun has brought this to public attention. Absolutely. Hans Christian Schwartz is here. Hi, mate. Thank you for joining. Danielle Chamberlain says, Osa, if Scientology apologized, acknowledged abuses, including SA, and connected rather than disconnected families, life would be so much more pleasant for any and all SEAL members and public. Yes, 100%. I have said many, many times that if Scientology made some very simple changes to its behavior and its activities, a lot of people would stop complaining about it. Pay your staff the minimum wage, give them a retirement plan, a pension, let them leave whenever they want to leave. Don't force people to have abortions. These are very simple, easy fixes that can be made to Scientology's operation, which would make the whole thing a lot more bearable for people and would actually result in far less people protesting against it. It's really, really simple. But of course, it's not something that Scientology will ever do, because they have to follow policy, which is written by L. Ron Hubbard. What LRH wrote is gospel, and it has to be done, even if it makes them look stupid. Val says, wow, 5 agents, that means your billboards are making a difference. Absolutely. And the billboards are promoting the Aftermath Foundation, which exists to help people escape and leave Scientology. And it just goes to show how much this has pissed Scientology off. But again, we wouldn't have done that if Scientology hadn't have put their ads up. So it's really, really crucial to point out that all of this is reactionary to Scientology's own actions. So David Miscavige, if you are watching this, right, you know, what are you going to do? You need to just change your behaviors. If you stop coming after us, we stop coming after you for the abuse that you're doing. It's ridiculous. Witness, Alex, it's so typical. They don't plan for the backflash of the publicity. Great strides in effect, in my opinion. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Becky, Osa have been busy doing nothing of value, just being abusive. Yeah, as someone pointed out to me a while ago that it's kind of the irony. It's not even funny, right? That the article in the Observer newspaper fairly recently was all about how I'm calling for an end to Scientology's abusive practices. And the way they respond is by continuing to abuse me and those who stand alongside me in protest. It's painfully ironic. Val says that also means Tom is firmly entrenched in Scientology if 5 OSA agents were there. 100%. There were lots of Scientology agents around. In fact, his own sister is his PR manager, who is also a devout Scientologist. Kara said all they sent them just in case to protect Tom. Not sure which option is less creepy, to be honest. Yeah, either way, there were 5 agents. We're not talking 1 or 2. 5. And one of them I know is definitely an OSA agent because I saw him at the CCHR protest last year, and we have footage of him, and I know his name, which I'm not going to share here on YouTube, because every time I mention the name of a Scientologist that isn't famous like Tom Cruise, I get a privacy complaint from Scientology's lawyers. So if you want to find out the name, I will be publishing more information about this on my blog, Scientology Business, in due course. Amy says, did you ID the goon in your picture? Yes, I know exactly who he is. Thank you for asking. Austin is here saying, hope you protesters are all okay. It has backfired on them and brings more eyes to our cause. Keep fighting the good fight. Thank you so much. Golden Astro Cat says, just shows how effective you are if they have a team of 5 goons following you. Yeah, look, and it is intimidating. It is scary. It can be daunting to know that every single move you make is being carefully watched and monitored by the organization that is the Church of Scientology. It amounts to stalking, and that is exactly why law enforcement need to step in and do something about it. When you speak out against Scientology, you do so knowing that this is a sort of thing that happens. It can be expected, but it doesn't mean we should tolerate it. We shouldn't tolerate a so-called religious organization proactively harassing and trying to intimidate critics and trying to silence them from speaking out. Any normal church would look at these allegations of abuse and go, gee, that sounds really horrible. We are so sorry that that happened to you. We are going to investigate. We are going to refer all the people involved to the police, and we are going to try and make amends, and we're going to try and do better. We are sincerely sorry for any trauma or abuse that was occurring under our watch. That's what you would expect any reasonable public relations manager to advise Scientology. But that's not, of course, how they behave. What they do, in fact, is try and shut down and get anyone arrested who dares to speak out against them. How unchurch-like. Val says, Sam, the SP chef, squirreled the nuts. Absolutely. Kathy Scoggins here saying, great job, Alex. Thank you so much. So look, guys, I just wanted to bring this to you that the protest was impactful. The protest was covered in the national press. And there's more coming. I really meant it when I said I'm only just getting started. There is a lot more planned for later in this year. Obviously, Scientology are still trying to get protesting banned outside St. Hill, their UK headquarters. The PSPO, the Public Spaces Protection Order that they applied for, is still being reviewed. There's been a little bit of movement behind the scenes, nothing that I can share publicly just yet, but we are expecting a decision from Mid Sussex District Council this summer, so stay tuned for that. And if you guys want to support this movement by being a protester yourself, if you're in the UK, get in touch with me and I can add you to the list and email you any information about anything that I'm planning. But also, you can go and protest yourself. There's nothing stopping anybody going and standing outside a Church of Scientology. But make sure you do so knowing the rules and the laws around protesting, and make sure you equip yourself with a camera to video record absolutely everything that happens. Because this is the sort of thing that Scientology do. They will try to get you arrested. And the only way out of that is if you know the law and you've been playing by the rules and you haven't broken any rules or laws around protesting. You've been peaceful. You haven't tried to cause disruption. You haven't been, engaging in hate speech. This protest that I organized yesterday was all about the abuses within Scientology. We don't have anything against people's so-called religious beliefs. If you want to be a Scientologist, Be my guest. We have no issues with people who choose to be Scientologists, but we do have an issue with the abuse and the harassment and the intimidation. That's what we're protesting. And that is something that can be changed, and is something that law enforcement should be paying closer attention to. And Nora's here. What's up with Nora? Good job, Alex. Thank you so much. So look, like I mentioned, I have filed a police complaint. We will see what happens with that. I've also emailed my lawyer, and we're going to see what the next steps are. But it's certainly not going to dissuade me or discourage me from speaking out. In fact, it just encourages me to do more of it, because it just evidences exactly why Scientology need to be held accountable. So I'm going to keep on the fight here. I really appreciate the support of everybody in the comments. That really, really helps keep me going, especially through the dark times and the hard times like last night and this morning, when I was still kind of being really triggered about the fact that I was held against my will yet again. So I really do appreciate that support. If you want to support in a financial way, please consider using the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description down below. That helps keep the channel up and running with all the associated costs, and, you know, protest activity. All of that does cost money on occasion. So please do consider doing that. There's also a link to PayPal if you want to do that. But the most important thing you can do as an activist yourself is to like, comment, subscribe, and also to write to your member of parliament or your state representative and ask them to step in, intervene. Would they consider adjusting the law that currently exists? The Serious Crime Act 2015 makes coercive control illegal, but it only applies to domestic partnerships. What we need is that law to be slightly altered so that it can be applied to a wider set of circumstances, because coercive control can occur in any situation. It can occur between an employee and an employer. It can occur between somebody and their religious minister. It can occur between somebody and their friend. It can occur in any sort of group that somebody is a part of. But the law doesn't have scope for that to apply in those circumstances. It only applies to the domestic situation. So what we need is MPs to agree to back and change an amendment to that legislation so that it can apply to other situations as well. And that way, more survivors of abuse inside cults like Scientology will be able to seek justice for the abuse that they suffered, being coercive control. That itself is recognized as a criminal act. So if you want to write to your MP, please do ask them to back the amendment, ask them to get in touch with me or loop me in. I'm happy to help and provide more information. The Family Survival Trust are really leading the way on that legislative change. If you're abroad, write your state representative, write to your local government officials and say, hey, I'm concerned about the abuse that is going on inside Scientology, because their harassment knows no bounds. Anybody that speaks out risks this harassment, and it really takes somebody bold and courageous to do that sort of thing, writing to your MP. And I think anybody that's watching this would be bold enough to do that. The worst that's going to happen is they say, no, I'm not interested, but at least you've tried. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.